The hip-hop world woke up this morning to absolute chaos. No warning. No teaser. No Instagram countdown. Just one sudden upload that sent shockwaves through every rap blog, every group chat, and every fan page on the internet. Because somehow, out of nowhere, 50 Cent just dropped a brutal diss track aimed straight at T.I., and within minutes the internet exploded. Fans are shocked. DJs are scrambling. Bloggers are trying to figure out what just happened. And the craziest part? Nobody saw this coming. For years, people believed the tension between 50 Cent and T.I. was buried in the past. They had their moments back in the 2000s, little jabs here, a few competitive interviews there, but nothing that ever turned into a full-scale war. Both of them grew into legends. Both built empires. 50 became a TV powerhouse with his shows and business deals. T.I. evolved into the self-proclaimed king of the South with a respected legacy in Atlanta. But last night, something changed. At exactly 2:17 a.m., a mysterious track titled King Slayer appeared on a burner YouTube channel. No cover art. No label. Just a black screen and a familiar voice. And the moment the beat dropped, hip-hop fans immediately recognized it. That was 50 Cent's voice. And he wasn't holding back. In the very first verse he took direct shots at T.I., calling out old industry rumors, Atlanta politics, and even bringing up conversations that were never supposed to be public. Within seconds the comments section went insane. Some people thought it was AI. Others thought it was a leaked studio session. But then a second verse hit, and that's when fans realized something serious was happening. Because 50 didn't just diss T.I. He exposed something. Now insiders are whispering that this diss track wasn't just rap beef. It might be connected to a behind-the-scenes industry betrayal that's been brewing for months. Allegedly involving a secret business deal, a streaming war, and a conversation that happened behind closed doors between two rap legends who used to respect each other. And if what people are saying is true, this track might have just started one of the most explosive rap feuds of the decade. But the real question is, what made 50 Cent wake up and press the nuclear button on T.I. after all these years? Because according to sources close to both camps, this story didn't start with a diss track. It started with a phone call that went very, very wrong. The story behind the diss track didn't start in a studio. It didn't start with a tweet either. According to several insiders who have been quietly talking behind the scenes, the real tension began weeks earlier during a private industry meeting in Atlanta that most fans never even heard about. It was supposed to be a simple business conversation involving streaming partnerships, a new hip-hop documentary project, and a handful of major artists who were being considered for the lineup. On paper, it looked like a celebration of hip-hop culture. But the moment two particular names were mentioned in the same room, the energy changed immediately. Those names were 50 Cent and T.I. Sources say the meeting took place late at night in a luxury studio lounge, the kind of place where deals are made quietly without cameras or reporters around. A few executives were there, a couple of producers, and some well-known Atlanta figures who have been close to T.I. for years. 50 Cent wasn't physically in the room, but he was reportedly connected through a call with one of the executives discussing potential creative control over the project. At first, everything sounded professional. Calm voices, business talk, ideas about telling the real story of hip-hop's evolution. But then someone mentioned T.I. as a key narrator for the documentary. And that's when the mood shifted. According to a producer who later leaked details to a blogger, the moment T.I.'s name came up, one of the executives joked, "If Tip's involved, you know Atlanta's running the whole story." It was meant to be harmless, but apparently T.I. didn't laugh. He leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and responded in a tone that made everyone in the room quiet. "Atlanta been running hip-hop for a minute anyway," he reportedly said. Some folks just don't like admitting it. At that point, the comment seemed like standard regional pride. But someone on the phone relay repeated the line to 50 Cent, who was listening from New York. What happened next is where things start getting messy. People say 50 went silent for a few seconds before asking one simple question through the speaker: "Who said that?" The room hesitated. Eventually someone admitted it was T.I. speaking. And that's when the temperature in the room reportedly dropped. 50 Cent has never been known for letting things slide, especially when pride and reputation are involved. According to the source, his voice on the phone changed instantly. Calm but sharp. "Atlanta running hip-hop," he said slowly. "That's interesting." Nobody in the room knew exactly how to respond. T.I. apparently leaned forward toward the phone speaker and replied directly, "You heard what I said." The conversation that followed lasted only a few minutes, but people who were present say it felt like watching a slow-motion car crash. The two legends started exchanging subtle jabs disguised as jokes. 50 brought up chart numbers and classic albums. T.I. countered with influence and cultural impact in the South. At one point, T.I. reportedly said, "Some people built their career off controversy." That comment immediately made a few people in the room glance at each other because everyone knew who he was talking about. 50 Cent laughed through the phone, but it wasn't the friendly kind of laugh. It was the kind of laugh that usually means something is coming later. "Controversy built my career," 50 replied. "Nah. Truth built my career." For a moment nobody said anything. Then the executive tried to redirect the conversation back to the documentary project, but the energy had already shifted too far. T.I. allegedly added one more line that would later become important. "Just remember who kept the South relevant while New York was quiet," he said. That statement reportedly made one of the producers drop his pen on the table. Because everyone knows how sensitive regional pride is in hip-hop. 50 Cent paused again before responding. "We'll talk about relevance soon," he said before ending the call. At the time, most people in the room assumed it was just competitive talk between two rap legends. Nothing unusual. Hip-hop has always been built on rivalry and bold claims. The meeting eventually wrapped up without any physical confrontation. T.I. left the building with a few friends and even joked with the producers on the way out, saying, "Y'all know Fif always got something to say." Everyone laughed and assumed the moment would fade like many other industry debates. But behind the scenes, something else was happening. Over the next few days, rumors started quietly circulating that 50 Cent had been asking questions about the meeting. Not angry questions. Strategic ones. He reportedly called two different executives who were present that night and asked them to repeat exactly what was said. Word for word. At first they didn't think much of it, but the more details he requested, the more it started to feel like he was collecting information rather than just clearing up a misunderstanding. Meanwhile, T.I. seemed completely unbothered publicly. He continued posting motivational messages on Instagram, promoting upcoming projects, and appearing on podcasts where he spoke about the future of hip-hop culture. In one interview, he even talked about unity in the rap community, saying legends should support each other instead of competing. Fans praised the message and shared clips all over social media. But then something strange happened that nobody noticed until later. During a live conversation with a radio host, T.I. casually made a comment that sounded harmless at first. He said, "Some folks still living off old beef stories from 20 years ago." The host laughed, assuming it was just a general statement about rap drama. But when the clip spread online, fans immediately started speculating about who he might be referring to. Within hours, comment sections were filled with theories pointing toward one particular person. 50 Cent. The speculation spread fast across hip-hop blogs. Most people dismissed it as internet gossip. But insiders claim the clip reached 50 Cent's team almost immediately. And according to someone close to his camp, that's when the idea of responding through music first started being discussed. At first it sounded unlikely. 50 Cent hadn't released a direct diss track in years. He had moved on to television production, business ventures, and building his entertainment empire. Many fans believed he had left rap beef in the past. But people who know him say one thing has never changed about 50: he pays attention to everything. Every interview, every comment, every little jab. And the more clips from T.I.'s interviews started circulating online, the more fans began tagging 50 Cent in them, asking if he had a response. Some people were joking. Others were serious. The posts slowly started trending in hip-hop communities, creating a narrative that a rivalry might be quietly brewing again between two powerful voices in rap history. Still, nothing happened publicly. Weeks passed with complete silence from 50 Cent. No tweets. No interviews. No reaction at all. Which, according to people who know his strategy, was actually the most dangerous sign of all. Because when 50 Cent goes quiet, it usually means he's planning something bigger than anyone expects. While fans were busy debating those interview clips online, something much more calculated was quietly happening behind the scenes. The silence from 50 Cent wasn't accidental. According to people who work closely around the New York rap mogul, he had already started moving in a way that only a few insiders recognized. Instead of jumping online to argue, or throwing out cryptic Instagram posts like many artists do today, he disappeared into the studio. At first nobody outside his circle knew about it. There were no leaked photos, no producer tags popping up on social media, nothing that suggested a diss track was coming. But late one night inside a recording studio in Manhattan, a small group of producers reportedly watched 50 Cent walk in with an unusual level of focus. One engineer later told a blogger that the mood felt different from the moment he arrived. He wasn't joking around like usual, the engineer said. Normally Fif walks in, cracks a few jokes, talks about TV shows or business stuff first. But that night he walked straight to the booth. The beat that was playing in the studio was dark and minimal, built around heavy drums and eerie piano notes. One of the producers had been experimenting with a sound inspired by early 2000s New York street rap, something gritty and raw. When the beat started looping, 50 reportedly stood quietly for almost a full minute, just listening. Then he nodded once. "That one," he said. Nobody asked questions. When artists like 50 Cent make that kind of decision, producers know something serious is about to happen. The engineer hit record, and 50 stepped into the booth. According to the people present, the first thing he said into the microphone wasn't even a lyric. It was a sentence that immediately made everyone in the room exchange looks. "So Atlanta running hip-hop now?" The room went silent. That line would later become the opening of the track fans heard days later online. But at that moment, it was just the beginning of a recording session that would slowly turn into something much bigger than a simple response. Over the next 2 hours, 50 recorded multiple verses, rewriting lines, pacing around the booth, and occasionally asking the producers to replay the beat from the top. What shocked everyone was how specific some of the lyrics were becoming. He wasn't just throwing random insults. He was referencing conversations, industry deals, and moments that only people close to the situation would understand. At one point, one of the younger producers reportedly whispered to another, "Is this about Tip?" The other producer shrugged, but the tension in the room made it obvious that everyone was thinking the same thing. Midway through the session, 50 stepped out of the booth and asked the engineer to replay the verse he had just recorded. As the speakers blasted the lyrics through the studio, the words hit harder than anyone expected. Lines about crowns getting heavy and kings forgetting who built the throne echoed through the room. When the verse ended, One of the producers nervously laughed and said, "Yo, the internet gonna lose their mind if this drops." 50 didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and said something that reportedly made the room freeze. "Good?" That was the moment everyone realized this wasn't just a freestyle or a random track. This was calculated, intentional, strategic, and the target seemed obvious. But the most surprising twist came later that night, when the conversation in the studio shifted from lyrics to something deeper. According to a producer who later shared details anonymously, 50 started talking about the larger picture of hip-hop power and influence. He explained that what bothered him wasn't just a comment about Atlanta running hip-hop. It was the idea that people were rewriting history. "Respect the South," he reportedly said. "Always did. But don't act like we forgot who kicked certain doors open." The statement sparked a quiet discussion among the producers about the long-standing debate between regional dominance in rap. New York had once been considered the unquestioned center of hip-hop culture, but over the past 2 decades the South had undeniably taken a massive leadership role in shaping the sound of mainstream rap. Artists from Atlanta, Houston, and Memphis had changed the game completely. But for someone like 50 Cent, who came up during one of New York's most aggressive eras of rap competition, comments about the city losing relevance hit differently. One producer carefully asked, "You really gonna put this out though?" 50 leaned forward, resting his arms on the table. "If people gonna talk," he said calmly, "then let's talk." What nobody in the studio realized at that moment was that the situation was about to get even more complicated. Because while 50 was recording that track in New York, T.I. was also dealing with unexpected drama in Atlanta that had nothing to do with the meeting weeks earlier. The Atlanta rapper had been preparing for a live podcast appearance where he planned to discuss music, entrepreneurship, and the future of independent artists. Everything seemed normal until the host asked a question that instantly shifted the conversation. "Do you think New York artists still control the culture?" T.I. smiled at first, clearly comfortable with the topic. But his answer would later become one of the most replayed clips on hip-hop social media. "Control," he said thoughtfully. "Nah. Culture bigger than any city now." The host nodded, encouraging him to continue. "But influence?" T.I. added. "Yeah. Atlanta got that right now." The comment wasn't aggressive. It sounded more like a confident observation. But when the clip started circulating online later that night, fans immediately connected it to the earlier rumors about the industry meeting. Some people praised T.I. for speaking honestly about the South's dominance. Others accused him of disrespecting New York's legacy. Within hours, the internet turned the comment into a full-blown debate. And that's when something unexpected happened. Someone took the clip of T.I.'s statement about Atlanta's influence and posted it directly under one of 50 Cent's old Instagram posts. The caption read, "You gonna respond to this?" The post quickly gained thousands of likes. Fans began tagging 50 repeatedly, demanding a reaction. Hip-hop blogs picked up the conversation, framing it as a potential brewing rivalry between two legendary figures who represented different eras and regions of rap. But still, 50 Cent said nothing publicly. No posts. No tweets. No interviews. Which only made the speculation grow louder. Meanwhile, back in the studio, the diss track was slowly evolving into something sharper. During a second recording session a few nights later, 50 reportedly added an entirely new verse that referenced Atlanta's self-appointed king. The line made everyone in the room glance at each other again, because the nickname had always been closely associated with T.I.'s brand in hip-hop. One of the engineers later described the moment perfectly. "That's when we knew this wasn't subtle anymore. The track was now clearly aimed at someone. And if it ever leaked, the rap world would instantly recognize who the target was." But what no one expected was how the song would actually surface. because the plan inside 50 Cent's camp wasn't to release it immediately. According to insiders, the track was originally meant to stay in the vault until the right moment appeared. 50 is known for playing the long game when it comes to strategy. Sometimes he records things months in advance, waiting for the perfect timing to unleash them. However, hip-hop history is full of one unpredictable factor: leaks. And somewhere between the studio hard drive and the digital transfer of the file, someone heard the song who wasn't supposed to. That single mistake would trigger the chain reaction that eventually led to the mysterious upload that shocked the entire internet at 2:17 in the morning. The moment the mysterious upload appeared online at 2:17 a.m., nobody really understood what they were hearing at first. The YouTube channel that posted the track had almost no history, barely a few subscribers, and the video itself looked suspiciously simple. Just a black screen with white text that read King Slayer. No flashy cover art, no label logos, no promotion. But within minutes, something strange began happening in the comment section. Fans started recognizing the voice. At first a few people wrote, "That sounds like 50." Others argued it had to be AI, because in 2026 fake voice technology had gotten so advanced that artists were constantly dealing with deepfake songs appearing online. But then the first verse kept spreading across hip-hop Twitter and fan pages, and the tone of the discussion changed quickly. The flow, the delivery, the signature pauses between certain punchlines, longtime fans could tell something about it felt real. Then came the second verse. That's when the internet completely lost its mind. Because the lyrics weren't vague. They weren't coded messages or subliminal hints. Several lines directly referenced Atlanta, crowns, and someone calling themselves the king. One lyric in particular immediately went viral: "You can wear the crown, but the throne built different." Within 10 minutes of that line being clipped and shared across social media, thousands of people started connecting the dots. They believed the track was aimed straight at T.I. Hip-hop blogs jumped into action almost instantly. Headlines started appearing across websites and YouTube channels asking the same question: did 50 Cent just diss T.I.? Some commentators said it sounded like a warning shot. Others said it was a full declaration of war. Fans flooded comment sections arguing about who had the stronger legacy. Meanwhile, across the country in Atlanta, T.I. had absolutely no idea any of this was happening. According to people close to his camp, he was asleep when the track first surfaced. The upload happened so late at night that only the most dedicated Night Owl fans were online at the beginning. But by 7 a.m., the video had already been reposted on multiple platforms, and the view count was climbing fast. Someone from T.I.'s team eventually saw the clip circulating on Instagram and immediately sent it into their group chat. The message reportedly said one thing: "Have you heard this?" Within minutes the phones started buzzing. One of T.I.'s longtime friends played the audio through a speaker while several members of his circle listened quietly. The room reportedly stayed silent until the first verse finished. When the second verse started mentioning Atlanta again, someone shook their head slowly. "That sound like Fifth," another person said. But the most important reaction was still missing. T.I. himself. When he finally woke up and checked his phone, the notifications were already out of control. Hundreds of messages from friends, producers, and industry contacts were asking if he had heard the diss track yet. At first he thought it was a joke. According to one insider, his initial reaction was confusion more than anger. "Diss track," he reportedly said while scrolling through the messages. "For what?" Someone in the room handed him the phone with the video playing. As the beat started, T.I. leaned back in his chair listening carefully. People who were present say his facial expressions stayed calm during the first verse. But halfway through the second verse, his eyebrows lifted slightly. Not rage. Just recognition. When the track ended, He reportedly placed the phone on the table and sat quietly for a few seconds before speaking. "That's interesting," he said. Nobody in the room knew exactly what that meant. Some expected him to get angry. Others thought he might laugh it off publicly. But T.I. has always been known for thinking carefully before reacting, especially when it comes to public conflicts that could spiral into bigger industry drama. Meanwhile, the internet was becoming a battlefield. Fans from different regions started defending their favorite artists online. Some New York supporters praised 50 Cent for reminding people where hip-hop started. Atlanta fans fired back, saying the South had carried the culture for the last 2 decades. Old interviews, statistics, and chart records began resurfacing everywhere as people tried to prove which side had the stronger legacy. Even other rappers quietly began watching the situation unfold. A few younger artists posted cryptic tweets about respecting the pioneers. Others avoided the topic completely, knowing that getting involved in a feud between two legends could easily backfire. But the biggest mystery still remained. Did 50 Cent actually release the track himself? Because something about the upload didn't make sense. If he truly wanted to drop a diss track, he had millions of followers across multiple platforms and major label connections that could push the release instantly to streaming services. Instead, the song appeared on a random small YouTube channel in the middle of the night. That detail caught the attention of several industry insiders. One hip-hop journalist, who has covered rap beefs for years, posted a thread analyzing the situation. In his opinion, the track sounded real, but the release method felt suspicious. He suggested 2 possible explanations. Either someone leaked the track without permission, or the mysterious upload was actually a strategic move designed to create buzz before an official release. Both possibilities made the situation even more dramatic. Because if the song was leaked, that meant someone close to the studio session had secretly shared it. And if it was intentional, that meant 50 Cent might be playing a much bigger game than anyone realized. While fans debated those theories online, something unexpected happened later that afternoon. T.I. finally spoke. During a brief live session on social media, someone in the comments asked him directly about the diss track that had been trending all morning. For a moment he looked at the screen quietly, clearly reading the flood of messages about the situation. Then he leaned forward and smiled slightly. "I heard something floating around," he said calmly. The comments immediately exploded with thousands of people asking for his response. But instead of getting angry or defensive, T.I. answered in a way that surprised many viewers. "If that was directed at me," he continued, "I'd prefer a conversation first." The statement instantly went viral. Some fans praised him for taking the high road. Others accused him of avoiding the challenge. Hip-hop commentators started analyzing his tone, trying to determine whether the calm response meant he was confident or simply uninterested in escalating the conflict. But one person who definitely noticed the clip was 50 Cent. According to someone close to his circle, he watched the video later that evening with a few members of his team. When T.I.'s comment about preferring a conversation played through the speakers, 50 reportedly laughed quietly. Then he said something that instantly changed the mood in the room. He had the conversation already. Nobody asked him what he meant. But the way he said it made it sound like the diss track was only the beginning of a much larger story that the public hadn't heard yet. By the evening of the same day the mysterious diss track surfaced, the hip-hop world had already turned the situation into the biggest conversation online. Reaction videos were flooding YouTube. Podcasts were going live within hours. Bloggers were digging through old interviews from both artists, trying to find clues about whether tension between them had existed longer than fans realized. Everywhere you looked, people were arguing. Some believed it was the start of a legendary rap battle. Others insisted the entire situation was just another clever publicity stunt. But while the public debate was getting louder, something far more serious was unfolding behind the scenes. Inside 50 Cent's circle, the leak had triggered an immediate investigation. According to insiders, the track had only been played in 2 recording sessions, and only a handful of people had access to the file. That meant the list of possible leakers was extremely small. One of the producers, who had been present during the recording, reportedly received a phone call that afternoon asking a very direct question. Who heard the song? The tone of the call wasn't angry, but it was serious enough that everyone involved suddenly realized the leak might create bigger consequences than just internet drama. In the music industry, unreleased tracks are treated like confidential material. If someone secretly leaks a song, it can damage business relationships and destroy trust within a team. One engineer later described the mood among the studio staff that day as paranoid. People started double-checking their email histories and cloud storage access to make sure their accounts hadn't been compromised. Some even wondered if the file had somehow been intercepted during digital transfer between devices. But then another theory started circulating quietly among 50's inner circle. What if the leak wasn't actually a mistake? Because the more they studied the situation, the more it seemed like the timing had created the perfect storm of attention. The mysterious upload had generated massive conversation across social media without requiring any official promotion. Hip-hop fans were already debating the lyrics, speculating about responses, and replaying the track over and over, trying to decode hidden messages. From a strategic perspective, it looked like a marketing explosion. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, the reaction around T.I. had grown more complicated as well. His calm public response earlier in the day had earned him praise from some fans, but others were demanding a stronger reaction. On several hip-hop forums, people were asking the same question: was the King of the South going to respond with a track of his own? Inside his camp, opinions were divided. One member of his team reportedly suggested ignoring the situation completely. The logic was simple: if the song had leaked unofficially, responding would only make the drama bigger. But another person in the room disagreed strongly. You can't ignore something that big, they argued. People already think it's real. T.I. listened quietly as the discussion continued around him. According to sources, he remained surprisingly calm while everyone else debated the strategy. At one point, he reportedly asked someone to replay the diss track again so he could listen more carefully. As the beat echoed through the room a second time, several lines in the song started standing out more clearly. Some of the lyrics referenced industry politics and behind-the-scenes deals in ways that sounded almost too specific to be random insults. One particular bar mentioned contracts signed behind closed doors while kings give speeches. When that line played, someone in the room looked toward T.I. curiously. "Do you know what he's talking about?" T.I. paused before answering. "Maybe," he said. That quiet response only made the room more tense. Because if the lyrics were referencing something real from the business side of the industry, then the situation might be deeper than a simple debate about regional influence. It could involve deals, partnerships, or decisions that happened privately between major figures in hip-hop. While that possibility started circulating among insiders, fans online continued treating the situation like the beginning of an epic rap showdown. Memes comparing New York and Atlanta flooded social media. Old footage of both artists performing their biggest hits resurfaced as people argued about whose catalog was stronger. Even radio stations started discussing the situation on air. One popular hip-hop DJ in New York played the leaked track during his late-night show and immediately opened the phone lines for callers to give their opinions. Within minutes, listeners were passionately debating whether the diss was justified. A caller from Brooklyn said, "Fifth just reminding people who built the blueprint." A caller from Atlanta fired back, "The South been running things for years now." The debate spread across cities like wildfire. But the most surprising development happened late that night, when a new rumor started circulating among industry journalists. According to one anonymous source, the diss track wasn't just about pride or regional rivalry. The source claimed the tension between 50 Cent and T.I. might actually be connected to a confidential streaming platform project that both artists had been approached about months earlier. The project reportedly involved a massive hip-hop documentary series that several powerful figures wanted to produce. The idea was to create a multi-episode story about the evolution of rap culture, featuring interviews with legendary artists who helped shape the genre. Both 50 Cent and T.I. had been considered major voices for the project. But according to the rumor, a disagreement about creative control had quietly divided the negotiations. If the story was true, it meant the argument, during that Atlanta meeting weeks earlier, might not have been just about pride or influence. It could have been the result of a deeper business dispute about who would control the narrative of hip-hop history. When that rumor started spreading online, fans became even more fascinated with the drama. Because now the diss track sounded less like random disrespect and more like the beginning of a complicated power struggle. Meanwhile, in New York, 50 Cent was reportedly watching the entire reaction unfold with quiet amusement. Someone close to his team later claimed he spent part of the evening scrolling through social media comments while people argued about the situation. At one point, a member of his circle asked the question everyone was wondering. "So, you gonna say something?" 50 reportedly shook his head. "Not yet." The calm confidence in that answer made it clear that he wasn't worried about the chaos the track had created. In fact, it seemed like he was enjoying watching the speculation grow. But before the night ended, something unexpected happened that would push the tension even further. A new clip from an old T.I. interview suddenly resurfaced online. In the video, recorded years earlier, T.I. was discussing leadership in hip-hop and what it meant to carry the title King of the South. At one point he made a statement that sounded very different when viewed in the context of the current drama. "Every king gotta defend the crown," he said in the clip. Within minutes of that footage spreading across social media, fans began asking a new question that quickly started trending. Was T.I. about to respond? And if he did, would 50 Cent be ready for the next round? And just like that, the entire hip-hop world found itself watching one of the most unexpected rivalries explode back into the spotlight. What started as a quiet industry meeting, a few comments about influence, and a mysterious late-night upload has now turned into a full-blown conversation across the culture. Fans are shocked, emotions are running high, and the internet is completely divided over what really happened behind the scenes. Some people believe 50 Cent calculated this moment perfectly, dropping a diss that instantly forced the rap world to revisit old debates about power, legacy, and who truly shaped the culture. Others think the leak exposed a deeper industry conflict that we still haven't fully uncovered yet. Was this really about Atlanta versus New York? Or was it about business deals, control over hip-hop's story, and respect between two legends who built their empires in very different ways? And then there's the biggest question still hanging in the air. Will T.I. respond with a track of his own? Because if he does, the situation could quickly turn into one of the most talked about rap battles in years. Fans are already digging through old interviews, analyzing lyrics, and debating every possible hidden message in that mysterious Kingslayer track. Some people are convinced 50 Cent just reignited competitive rap energy that the industry has been missing. Others think this drama might only be the beginning of an even bigger story waiting to unfold. But now we want to hear from you. Do you think 50 Cent really dropped that diss track on purpose? Or do you believe the leak happened accidentally? And if T.I. fires back, who do you think wins this battle? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments, because the hip-hop community is already arguing about this everywhere. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more dramatic rap stories like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update. Because trust me, if this situation continues to escalate, the next chapter could be even crazier. Microphone fire.